All right, peace, family. In this one, I want to talk on the 1619 project that's published through the New York Times that's focusing on the legacy of slavery in this country. But if you look at the back, it says in August of 1619, a ship appeared on the horizon near Point Comfort, a coastal port in the British colony of Virginia. It carried more than 20 enslaved Africans who were to be sold to the colonists. America was not yet America, but this was the moment it began. So that point right there is big because it says the 20 enslaved Africans. You can't find that information anywhere. So let's jump into this. So John Ralph is the first in Jamestown to grow marketable tobacco after obtaining superior seeds from the West Indies. Spain had just outlawed the sale of it anyway, but he got these seeds from the West Indies. And this is what John Ralph said about these people who came on these ships. About the latter end of August, a Dutch man of war of the burden of 160 tons arrived at Port Comfort. The Commodore's named Captain Jope and his pilot for the West Indies, one Mr. Marmaduke, an Englishman. They met the treasurer in the West Indies and determined to hold concert ship hitward, but in their passage lost one of the other. He brought not anything but 20 and odd Negroes. So he didn't bring Africans, he brought 20 and odd Negroes. 20 and odd Negroes were stolen from a Portuguese ship, but no record of them coming from Africa exists. The ship was pirated near Veracruz, Mexico. The theory of them coming from Africa was put in place by John Thornton. At this time, we had the Iberian Union, which was the dynastic union of the Kingdom of Portugal and the Spanish crown, and this lasted between 1518 and 1614, which brought the entire Iberian Peninsula and their possessions overseas in a possession of one union. That was the Iberian Union. So it wasn't no Spain, no Portugal, it was the Iberian Union. So when we see these Portuguese ships in the New World, it's the Spanish and the Portuguese. It's all the same. And this ship was supposedly from the West Indies. That they're saying it was the slaves were from the West Indies, but this ship was caught by Veracruz. So I'll show you what the territories look like that New Spain and Portugal and Spain shared together in the New World, and then where the ship was captured at or pirated from. So a retired University of California at Berkeley historian Angel Slutter made a startling discovery in the Spanish National Archives in the late 1990s, as he did research for a book on Spanish America. A colonial shipping document he uncovered in an account book identified a Portuguese ship called the San Juan Batista. About 350 slaves were bound for Veracruz on the east coast of modern-day Mexico when the ship was robbed of its human cargo off the coast of Mexico in 1619 by two unidentified pirate ships, the record said. So Slutter died in 2001 and published his discovery in William and Mary Quarterly, but this caught the eye of John Thornton, supposedly an expert on the Portuguese colonies in Africa. See, they automatically trying to tie the slave trade back to Africa when we can look at the slave trade of the natives and the Africans, but they're going to automatically take it back to Africa. So I got to think, who is this dude, John Thornton? But he was an expert on this. According to him, the outline took place of the other half of the story from John Thornton. So John Thornton, through his part of the research, make people believe that these slaves came from Angola. In the early 1560s, a Spanish official wrote to the king, "In the island of Puerto Rico, there are 15,000 Negroes and less than 500 Spaniards. And in all the island of Hispaniola, there may be 2,000 Spaniards and over 30,000 Negroes. The same is the case in the island of Cuba, in Veracruz, Puerto de Quavo, which is Honduras, Nombre Dios, Cartagena, which is like Colombia, Santa Maria in the coast of Venezuela, where there are 20 Negroes to one white man. And this was before they was even really shipping black people over here. So where all these Negroes come from, and why these Negroes are also not called Africans. So the first slave voyage directly from Africa to the Americas took place in 1525. This is coming to the Spanish colonies. By 1560, slave trade into Brazil became a regular occurrence, with anywhere from 2,500 to 6,000 slaves kidnapped and transported each year. So this is in 1560 when it started. I gave a quote from 1560 where they already had all of these thousands of black outnumbering the white men 20 to 1. So where did all of these black people come from? Where did these Negroes come from? They want you to think that they came from Africa. John Ralph got his tobacco seeds from the West Indies, and then when the ship comes into the port, he's saying that these people came from the West Indies. They were bound for Mexico, but they came out of the West Indies. That's one thing that you can't hide. So the 1619 Project, if it wants to be authentic and truthful, it has to take that word African out because it wasn't used at the time, and they're trying to superimpose that on the situation. But it's a Free Black Society presentation. I just wanted to show you they don't have proof that those people, those 20 and odd Negroes, came from Africa. They just want them to because they're romanticizing history.